a treasure hunt. And so what we're doing is each day in March, we're taking a chapter of the book of Proverbs and saying, hey, God, what treasure do you have for me today? Yesterday was March 20th, which would have been Proverbs 20. And after a really long day of being at church and at some baseball meetings and at a school play and back at church and yada, 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 I got home last night, and about 10:30 last night, I went, oh, I didn't do a video for March 20th. So I apologize for that. Hopefully you were able to check out Proverbs 20. And this morning I just want to talk quickly about Proverbs 20, and then I'll do a video later today for Proverbs 21. But in Proverbs chapter 20, there's a lot of good encouragement, again, as we've been going through this treasure hunt. But a verse that really jumped out to me this morning as the sun was shining, and again, I read this last night, but then this morning I'm like, oh, I'll read them again and see. So as I read through Proverbs 20 again this morning, the verse that jumped out to me was verse 4 of chapter 20, and it says this. The Message version says it this way: a farmer too lazy to plant in the spring has nothing to harvest in the fall. Farmer too lazy to plant in the spring has nothing to harvest in the fall. And as you know, the spring slowly creeps in as we have a few nice days here and there, as the sun gets a little brighter in the morning, as the weather gets a little warmer, as the fields start to turn from covered in snow to stuck in mud to slowly beginning to grow. Boy, there's a real simple truth in that proverb. If you don't plant in the spring, you don't harvest in the fall. That seems like pretty common, obvious wisdom, advice, truth, but it's got a lot deeper meaning than just what the corn does while it grows or the beans go while it grows. In our lives, if we don't plant, we don't harvest. And sometimes what happens is we always want to look to the harvest. Well, I never did this. Well, I never did this. Well, that didn't come in, or I didn't get that. Right? We wonder why we're not as successful at a sport, but yet we didn't plant the seeds of hard work and practice. We want to know why we didn't get a promotion, yet we're not working hard to learn our skill or get better at it. We get to the end of a marking period and we can't figure out why we got the grade that we got. Well, because at the beginning of the marking period, you didn't turn in any of your assignments. Listen, God's word has so much wisdom and so much treasure for us to soak in. And it's just a really simple principle, but it's really good to put into practice. If you don't plant, you don't reap, right? If you don't sow the seed, you don't harvest the seed. And so this morning, can I just encourage you? We got to do things now that we'll get rewarded for then. And sometimes that's hard to wait, and sometimes that's hard to think forward. I know at my house, every year this time of year, I always wish I had more trees. I always wish I had bigger trees. I look around, I'm like, oh, I should definitely plant some trees this year. And I've been saying that for like 15 years at my house, right? Now, if I'd have actually gotten off my duff and did that 15 years ago, well, I'd have 15-year-old trees at my house. I'd have a nice mature, wind block along the west side. I'd have more fruit and nut trees and those kinds of things that would already be growing. But instead, what I do is I kind of sit around talking about it instead of starting to do it. And as a result, I ain't got as many trees as I would like in our spiritual lives. If we don't plant today, we're not going to harvest tomorrow. If we don't sow today, we're not going to reap down the line. So, spiritually speaking, make sure you're sowing now so that there's a harvest later. The farmer too lazy to plant in the spring has nothing to harvest in the fall. Let's learn that wisdom today. Let's put it into practice. Let's start this week by planting some seeds of faith and then letting God do what he does, which is grow them. Hope you all have a super awesome, amazing day. I'll be checking back in later today with Proverbs 21. Continue on this treasure hunt with us. Love y'all. Peace out.